Okay, we have to talk about this South Florida game. A game that was extremely frustrating. But either way, a win is a win. You must learn from that and grow. However, it's not wrong to acknowledge the biggest issues that are plaguing Alabama right now and have some concerns. I'm going to talk about those concerns today, as well as the few things that I did like. There will be positive notes going forward later on towards the end of this video. Stay tuned for that, but let's first talk about the issues with this offensive line and all of those penalties. 13 penalties for 120 yards. That's a football field worth of flags, and it's not going to cut it. And truthfully, if it wasn't for that, Alabama could have blown this game out of the water very early, way before the second half of the fourth quarter. There are issues there that I hope they can work through, and I believe they will, but the thing I don't think a lot of people are talking about right now is the fact that penalties have been plaguing the program for a while now. I don't know what's in the water over there in Tuscaloosa. I don't know if they're going to the strip too much and partying, hanging out way too long. Whatever it is, it ain't right. In 2021, Alabama had 107 penalties for over 1,000 yards. In 2022, the Crimson Tide was one of the few teams in the country penalized 100 or more times. Alabama averaged 68.69 penalty yards a game, which ranked ninth worst in the nation. The Crimson Tide had a total of 103 penalties. Now, 2023 was a much better year. They had 78 total penalties. They cleared that up, but 2 years for a Nick Saban-led team to clear up those penalties. But this was the year of the bad snap. And honestly, I don't know about y'all, but in my opinion, if it wasn't for those bad snaps, Alabama would have been in a better position to win that game against Michigan. Because as we saw, the bad snap plague would rear its head again in that last play.
That's Williams in motion, low snap, Milroe stopped!
As well as on a drive where the offense was finally starting to gel.
This ball way low and high.
Now, I believe in Parker Bressford. He's somebody who has proven somebody who can do what he needs to do. But at the same time, anytime I see a bad snap, it just triggers all kind of PTSD. But I don't think we will have anywhere near the same issue that we had last year with the snaps. But there was a bad snap, mishandled snap. Either way it goes, the snap did not get to Jalen Milroe. We had a fumble in the red zone while Jalen Milroe was under center. And we're going to talk about that specific play a little bit later. But I think a lot of the frustration comes from fans because of the fact that it's one thing to be losing or to be in a close ball game like we were right here to a team that you know is on your level or simply better than you, but this was clearly not the case. All of this was due to self-inflicted wounds. And I believe that if Alabama can play a clean game, they can hang and contend with anybody in the country. But if the offensive line plays like this, it's gonna be tough when we get up in competition. Now, Pritchett did come into the game, and that's what sparked off all those runs, but he makes a lot of mistakes too. Wilkin for me played very bad at right tackle. A lot of holding calls on him. He was getting that work, without a doubt. But it is a reason why Pritchett was not in the game, and we found out later that he was a little dinged up from the last game.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Elijah Pritchett on offense until about 6 minutes left. What went into him not playing until then and kind of then inserting him at that point?
Yeah, he had he got last game just a minor ding, and we were trying to get through it. Could have started the game. We were just trying to hold on as long as possible.
Now, he is inconsistent, so I'm pretty sure the thought process behind that was to see exactly what you have in Wilkin, but I don't know. I do want to give the redshirt freshman a little bit of grace. He's a redshirt freshman. He needs to be put out there to see what he has and to get better. But we will see how that saga continues. I trust Kalen DuBois' judgment on that one. But the next concern that I have is this secondary. Not a huge problem because I believe they will get better and better each week, but there are some things that we got to point out. There were a few plays where South Florida had some guys wide open, but their quarterback could not make the play. And this happened a few times throughout this game. Byron Brown was okay as a runner, but if you look at the stats as a QB, as a guy who's supposed to be able to pass the ball down the field, he had more rushing yards than he had passing yards. 15 of 31, 103 passing yards to 23 carries for 108 rushing yards. Yeah, that ain't gonna cut it either, but I didn't mind to see it. The man couldn't throw a ball in the ocean if he was in Panama City. It was a bad day for him in terms of passing the ball, but he could run the rock. Now, I gotta give him that. But I think the young corners will be fine. I believe in James Bakwe. I believe in Red Morgan. I believe in Xavier Brown, along with the upperclassmen that are in this secondary. We have a Keon Sapp. You have the heart of the defense in Malachi Moore. This defense, in my opinion, will get better and better each week. That was just one of the things I wanted to point out. And this is a defense that is super aggressive, and I think at some points in the game, were too aggressive. They kind of over pursued some plays, let some guys go, missed some tackles, little small things that I'm pointing out here. I'm nitpicking just a little bit, but a lot of that is the reason why South Florida was able to get a lot of those rushing yards in the game, but they locked down when they needed to lock down, specifically in the red zone. Either way though, I love the tenacity that I see from the defense. I just wanted to point out that one little thing. And finally, before I get to the positive notes, there is one thing I want to point out about Jalen Milroe, a guy that I believe in, but he does have a few things to fix, like most QBs do. He has to learn when to give up on the play and learn to live another day instead of trying to extend it so much to where you end up almost in the back of the end zone. But him taking those sacks goes back to being a little bit too aggressive. I am starting to see some improvement in the mid-range game. He still has to work on that aspect of his game, but I'm seeing it. It's here and there. I see flashes. He threw one pass like over the defender, like in the flat area, and I was like, that was a good pass. He is still the best deep ball thrower in the country, can make a play out of no play, the best athlete on the field on most days, all of that. But he's not perfect, and that's okay. Pass protection wasn't that great in this game, and at certain points in this game, there was nobody to throw the ball to. He finished the game with 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 2 rushing yards, but a lot of that was because a long touchdown run was taken back because of a hold. Y'all know the story. You have to know when to just make the right play and when to settle for what the defense gives you. And now, with all that being said, let's talk about some things that were on the positive note. And you may think to yourself, like, what could you possibly take from this game as a positive note? Well, let me tell you. For one, the team was able to rally, even though it was late. I understand that. But that showed me that if they were to get out of their own way, they can make this game look like how it was supposed to look in the first place. And that leads me directly into my second point. When they get out of their own way, they're going to be able to do great things. And 3, throughout this entire game, Jalen Milroe was very calm, cool, and collected. Kept his composure despite everything that was going on, and you want that in your leader. And that leads me to my final thing. Once the running game got going, you can see how special this offense is going to be. You have 2 guys on this team who right now could go and start for most teams in the country and be a solo act, and that's Injustice Haynes and Jam Miller. I think they are the keys to unlocking the potential of this entire offense, because once they get it going, that is going to unlock the RPO game. That's going to unlock the play action pass game. Miro is going to be able to do what he does best, and that is throw the ball deep. And they don't need some fantastical line. As long as the offensive line is decent, I think they're going to be able to go off. They have a quick burst, they have the strength, have the speed, they have everything that you need in your running backs. And when you look at this team in terms of just pure potential, it's looking good for the future. This is the first year without Saban. They have one of the best wide receivers in the country in a 17-year-old Ryan Williams. We have great young talent on both sides of the ball, as I talked about the DBs earlier. There is naturally going to be some growing pains along the way, because the right tackle who was getting bullied is going to have to be one of the guys we rely on going forward. And that is something that is going to happen, because what you want to do with an offensive line is actually develop the guys. You see what happens when you try to mix and match offensive linemen. You can do that on the skill position players a little bit. Skill position players are a lot easier to come by than linemen. It takes a lot of development, and it takes the right system and scheme. So what y'all saw in the field today was something Alabama probably needed to go through. I didn't like it, but he's gonna have to step up one day and contribute to that offensive line. And the biggest difference between Alabama and certain teams in the country right now is the fact that these things that are going on with this team can be fixed, unlike some teams in the country, because most of it is just self-inflicted wounds. It's a tough road ahead, but I think Alabama is more than capable of handling the task as long as they do not get in their own way. And with all that, let's just take a few seconds, recap the game. That's what we do on the channel. Let's go through it. So South Florida would score first, and as they're driving the ball, I'm thinking to myself, they're making a good push at that end zone. Bama's defense did well. They held it down in the red zone, so okay, we're good. Bama's offense started out rough, 3 and out after 3 and out. Bama would finally answer with a touchdown, and I thought to myself that it was all good and well, and that was until the woes for this offense continued and South Florida would get another field goal. We shot ourselves in the foot right here to Kobe Prentice. Would have been a nice play, but either way, we still scored on this drive, and now the score be 14-6. And this is the point in the game where I want to talk, because the offensive line played bad, but they weren't the only one out there making mistakes. You had this fumble on a kick return. Yeah, you see her? That's exactly the same face I made. Great return, but a great defensive play by South Florida. Kendrick Law fumbles, but they didn't get anything from it, so no harm, no foul. But then we had another fumble. I guess Jam Miller wanted to join the party. He didn't feel invited. Unlike last time, they would drive down the field and get a touchdown out of that turnover. And I thought we would answer, and we almost did, but then another fumble. This is the play I told you guys we would talk about earlier. Why not put Milroe in position to actually be successful right here? He should have been in the shotgun position and simply ran the ball. A design quarterback run with that extra blocker in there, I think we would have scored easily. But I don't know, you tell me. Thankfully though, Alabama's defense held it down, got a stop, and now we continue to roll. And ironically enough, the next play for this Alabama Crimson Tide offense would be exactly what they should have done a few minutes ago. Bama caps this off with a score to Kobe Prentice. And then another good drive by South Florida. Couldn't get in the end zone, but another field goal. But this was right before the floodgates would open and Ryan Williams would score. And then you have an offensive lineman change. And then Jam Miller would score. And then Justice Haynes would score. And that's your ball game for the most part. Overall, man, there's a lot of things that Alabama needs to clean up, learn from, limit the turnovers, and I think we will be a-okay. Let me know what you think about this entire game down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel to help a brother out. We're on the way to 5,000 subs, so with that, if you made it this far, respect.